Hello and welcome to our Tisha B'Av, pre-Tisha B'Av Talmud Torah lesson. Moshiach Born on Tisha B'Av is the title for the lesson. We're going to focus on a couple of things, namely the Agadata from the Sechta Bruchis from the Rishalmi. We're going to go ahead and stick with the text. In fact, I'm going to just start speaking Yeshivish. We're going to stick with the Lashon, and we're going to weigh in the Maral of Prague. All right? Based on Maral on these inyanim. The inyanim we're going to cover, the main ikr is Moshiach Born on Tisha B'Av, but there's a little hakdama I want to bring in about the Gerim, the Gerit Tzedek of the Shemona Esrei. I didn't do the whole Gemara B'Iyun as in before our sugya, but I guess it's talking about the brachas of the Shemona Esrei, and it's going to lead into the messianic brachas, obviously, Karen, Yeshua, Malchus Beis David, all these things, and it goes into Mashiach and ultimately Mashiach Born on Tisha B'Av. Let's go. In fact, the part about Gerim is I'm going to do very quickly. So it basically just says, I'm going to read in English just for the sake of context. And a brayso was taught regarding this. One includes the mentions of heretics and of the wicked, and the blessing who subdues wanton sinners. V'shel Gerim, v'shel Zakanim, mivtach l'tzadikim, V'shel David bebonei Yerushalayim acher yashuvu bonei Yisrael ve'vishu es Hashem Eloheim es David Malkam. Right? I think it's a bit of a different girsa. Obviously, this is the Rishalmi, and the point I want to bring in is the big question is why do we mention Gerim and obviously in our nusach today Gerit Tzedek with the tzadikim? It's a quick vort I'm going to bring, and the idea is this, and the Maral explains this, and it turns out it's not just the Maral. I've been teaching that it's the Maral for a while, but it's not only. The main Perushim that we're going to see on that, for your own interest, is the Yalkut Shimoni, Chelik Aleph, 617, and Megomar Bavli Megillah, I think it's 17a. 17b, sorry, 17b. And again, the issue is the Tzadikim, which is a Talmud Chacham. The Talmud Chacham, you stand for him. It's a pasuk in Vayikra. Let me tell you where that pasuk is real quick. Pasuk is in Vayikra. And where in Vayikra? 1 second. Just for the sake of referencing this. 1 second. I think it's 1732. Vayikra 1732. If it's not there, then find it. it's wait a second. Yeah, 1932. Sorry about that. Vayikra 1932. V'hadaras pnei zaken samichle ki yagor idcha ger. Sorry about that. So the issue is a chacham, is zaken, someone who has acquired chachma. Kone chachma. The Brisker Rav has a whole word about this. The Rambam paskins on this. How do you know what a rabbi is, an elder, a sage? Someone who has acquired chachma. If they have chachma, it's a mitzvah deraisa to stand for them. And the very next pasuk says, when the ki yigor idcha ger, do not taunt the ger. And the question is, why do we follow the ger after the zaken? This is why we say in the bracha, by the tzadikim, and we include the gerim, and we include on our nusach Gerit Tzedek. A Gerit Tzedek is not a Gerit Tzadik. And a Gerit Tzedek, and it turns out, get this, a Gerit Tzedek is not the Ger. The Tzedek is on the Tzadik. The Tzadik is the rabbi with Chachma. The Ger goes to the Shechina. The Shechina is the Talmud Torah that comes out of the peh of the Chachma of the Tzadik. So the Tzedek is the Ger going to the Tzadik. Therefore, he is tzedek in relationship to the tzaddik. Got it? I mean, there are gerim seeking refuge under the wings of the Shechina. Shechina is the Talmud Torah, the chachma from the mouth of the tzaddik. The gerim go to the light, be a light to the nations. Thus, you have to include dafka, the gerim with the tzaddikim. Nice word, isn't it? Thus, the gerid tzedek of the tefillah Shemona Esrei, the tzedek in that they are chasing after the righteousness of the tzaddik. Right, Gerit Tzedek with the tzaddikim. So the mitzvah of standing before a rav, you're going to find the gerim there based on the pasuk. Just want to bring that in. Here we go. I'm going to stick to the text, and I'll bring the notes and commentary along with the ride. I'm going to read in English just for the sake of time. The rabbi said, this King Mashiach, the Malka Mashiach, if he is from the living, David is his name. If he is from the deceased, David is his name. The Perushim on this, they make a chiluk. If he's from the living, it's David Shmei. His name is David. If he's from the dead, David Atzmo. It's David himself. So the whole issue of today, we want to work out from the Agadatas, the Chachma inside. And this is how I see it. We know that Moshe Rabbeinu is going to come back. We say, Az Yashir Moshe. In the future, Moshe will sing. Rashi, I believe, there, and the Meforshim say that's called Techiyas HaMesim. Right? But we know from the Zohar and Kabbalah that Nishmat Moshe comes back in Techiyas HaMesim. So what we would call a Gilgul in the end of days, the final version, that's not a Gilgul. Gilgulim are not when John Doe dies and he's reborn as Bob Doe. That's not a Gilgul. In Shar Gilgulim are way complicated. Portions of the Neshama is going, and the 5 parts of the Neshama are going to accomplish things in Ibor and Yanika. It's not really Shayach. It's like asking, what does a baby do in the womb on Tuesday? It's not quite Shayach. He's not really in this world to describe it. So Gilgulim are really not Shayach. If you right now are you, whatever you are, and you're getting an Ibor to help you perform a mitzvah, that's called a Gilgul. It's not like a carbon copy, right? But Techiyas HaMesim is the carbon copy. And the way I can work it out is that King David was actually Moshe Rabbeinu. Now here's how it works. When Moshe was born into a guf, not called David, it's called Moshe. Moshe Mashiach, Moshe the Redeemer, but Moshe knew it wasn't Chal Lagamre, so he said, please God, send who you're going to send. Send the Keli that can be called David so that I can be the Go Achron. King David was named David. His parents said, hey, let's name the kid David. That's the prophecy. So Nishmat Moshe enters a Kli called David. Now Nishmat Moshe functions as David. The Goel Achron will be, as we say in Yechezkel, I will raise up another David. David will, my Nasi, all this will be king over them. The name David, if he's from the living, name David. So the Nishmat Moshe, which is actually called David Atzmo. It's only Moshe when, without a David Kli, it's called Moshe. Right? So David himself, without any Kli, manifests called Moshe. When David himself enters a Kli called David from the living, that's called David also. That's called Moshiach ben David. When Hashem finally lines up the Keli and the Neshama called David in one Techiyah at the end called Mashiach. And he does Chesed for his Mashiach when he's called David. That's the next part of the thing here. And he does kindness for his Messiah, for David. Therefore we have that the Goel Achron, just like in the brachas for Yehuda, Ad Ki Avo Shilo, Shilo Gematria Moshe, but it's in the brachas of Yehuda. Or Chaim says that the Malchus of Moshe contains the Malchus of David. So we see there's a yichud always of David and Moshe. Again, Moshe is really David, but when there's no Keli called David, it's called Moshe. Moshe is David, and when there's a Keli called David, it's called David. Does it become Gashmi? If it's Megashem, it's called David. If it remains Ruchani, Nishmat Moshe, then it stops being David Asmo and is called Nishmat Moshe. Az Yashir Moshe, in the end of days, Moses will sing, Moshe will sing, therefore that is called Nishmat Moshe. And it's the reference in the Pasuk is obviously not speaking about David. That's called Moshe V'Train Mashiachin. But when you have the Goel Achron, as the Gra says in Kol HaTorah, Mashiach ben David that comes with Moshe, that's what that means. Good? Good to Zuch? Okay. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. says Semach is the name of the Messiah, and another guy says that Menachem is his name. And obviously you can conjure up images of Sanhedrin 98b, Shiloh, Hanina, Yinon, and Menachem. So the Gemara here says something very interesting. The reason why we say Semach and Menachem is the gematria is the same, 138. Semach and Menachem. So I looked at it and I thought, what's the chiddush? Both of them have a mem and a ches, as in Moyach, Moichin, and then mem nun is the same gematria as Tzaddik, 90. So there's an idea called halacha Moshe Sinai, even in Kabbalah. The idea that some things just have to be. Why is your right to fill in the strap longer than the left? Because the chasadim come down into repairing the olam of Atzilus. So there are things that Chazal knew had to be just because of the Kabbalistic inyan. Therefore, they would know that Mashiach has all these kalim based on where it says Menachem in the Tanakh, where it talks about Semach in Zechariah. So certain things just kind of have to be. And I looked in, so Shiloh, why is Shiloh it? Because the name Shiloh Hashem, and it's Gematria Moshe. Right? So Menachem we see has the Chet Mem and the Mem Nun, which is what Tzemach. Yinon is Lashon Nun, Nuni. Also we have Hanina, also has the Nun in there, also has the Chet and the Nun, just like Menachem. And the reason why we bring that in, the only one that can bring us into the land of Israel was Yeshua ben Nun. And the fact, it says the Midrash that he was called Ben Nun, was the schus that brought him over. We want Moshe to bring us in eternally this time. Therefore, he has to be a Ben Nun. And therefore, the names they found, Shaykh to Mashiach, are Ben Nun names. Chanina, Yinon. So therefore, we have Shiloh explained, and Menachem Semach explained. It all works out. Also, the Beis Hamikdash. We're going to see that David is kashur to the Beis Hamikdash. So if David is connected to the Mikdash, Moshe is connected to the Mikdash, and it has to work out that way in the Lashon. What's the name of the Beis Hamikdash? Lebanon. Lev Nun. Right? Lev Nun. So there's that inyan of Nun. Also, I found out something very interesting. We're going to say that the name of Mashiach is Menachem, and coming up here in a minute. But also, the father of Mashiach is called Chizkiah. The Gemara is going to ask that. And father, as we know in Kabbalah, is Chachma, the partsuf Av, or Abba. So then I thought, let's use the same Chachma to darshan that out. What's the Gematria Chizkiah? 130. Turns out it's Gematria Sinai. So you see, that's how they work these things out. The name of the Messiah and all these things. They use a Chachma of Moshe Sinai. The things that just kind of have to be. So it makes sense that if he's named Chizkiah, Chazak Yah, we're going to see what that is. The strength of God, to call it Sinai makes all the sense in the world. Right? Sinai was the giving the Torah and Chachma. So they're thinking at a higher level. They're not trying to say literally, oh, his name is this or that. Even though it appears that the name David is apparent here for the Iker of the revelation, but the other names, because there's diversity. There's Semach, there's Menachem, but we know the name David is a Segula. That's why the Navi mentions, I will raise up another David, and not I will raise up another Menachem or Chanina and Yinon and all these things. But they're used as a smachta, just like in the bracha of Yehuda, as ki yavo Shiloh. And obviously the gematria Yavo Shiloh is gematria Mashiach, Shiloh gematria Moshe. Now we're going to get interesting here. Ready to get interesting? You ready? Yeah. And this following story supports Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi and Rabbi Yudan, the son of Rabbi Avu, Ivu, in the Hebrew. I'm going to stick to the English because it's the Rishomi, so it's got a bit of a twang to it. Stick with the English. There was an incident involving a certain Jew who was standing plowing his field. Suddenly the ox loud before him. An Arab passed by and heard the sound of the ox. So the Maharal Prague really goes into this Inyan, and he describes that the Arab here is Golos Yishmael, that it ends with the coming down of the 12 princes of Ishmael, which we'll look that up, remind me. And Mashiach is actually delivered by the clouds of Yishmael. So keep that in mind for this Agadata. The Maharal is going to explain that Mashiach somehow comes out of Ishmael. Not the people, not Muslims, not Arabs, but the Koyach of Ishmael will somehow deliver to us our Jewish Messiah. Again, it has nothing to do with Ishmaelim proper. It has to do with us coming out of their klippa, or mainly Golos Yishmael ending is the deliverance of the Messiah. Look to the Torah at the end, just before Parshas told us the falling and death of Ishmael is the rise of Yitzchak, ben David, in the tradition. The Arab passed by, heard the sound of the ox. The Arab said to the farmer, Bar Yudai, Jewish man, release your ox, release the peg of your plow, because the base of Mikdash has just been destroyed. I'm going to give my take on this whole passage. That's the base of Mikdash Rishon. The first temple was destroyed. And obviously the fact that he was with the ox is Moshiach ben Yosef that dies. Right? The working the land, right? Zionism, the original Zionism, as in Hard Sion, working the land of Israel, Torah to Eretz Yisrael. Then the ox loud a second time, the second base of Mikdash. The Arab said to him, Jewish man, fasten your ox again and fasten the peg of your plow, because the king, the Messiah, has just been born. This is the idea. On Tisha B'Av is the birth of the Mashiach. After Churban Bayis Sheni, we have not had a temple since. And we know that the next temple to be coming built, the third temple, built by Mashiach in the time of the Mashiach. So the fact that the temple is destroyed, now we're on the clock for a messianic deliverance. That explains why 2,000 years ago they thought, towards the end of the destruction, that a certain movement would produce the Mashiach. This story will explain to you why it wasn't 2,000 years ago, but why it began 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years of Tohu, 2,000 years of Torah, 2,000 years of Mashiach. The farmer asked the Arab, what is Mashiach's name? He answered him, Menachem, which we explained why Menachem is the answer of the name. The whole thing about Sinai, Menachem, all these things. Moshe Sinai, sorry, not Sinai, but Halakha Moshe Sinai. What's his father's name? Chizkiah, Chazak Hashem, the strength of God, Gematria Sinai, the idea of Torah coming down, all the Kabbalah coming inside these concepts. We don't need to hash it out now, but you can see how that works. Right? Moach, Mochin, Partsufin, Loriana Kabbalah, right? All the thing. Sinai, Torah, Chachma, all fits in nicely. The farmer asked him, where is he from? The Arab said to him, from Biras Malka and Beis Lechem Yehuda. This is a mashal for the Beis Hamikdash. Mashiach is indigenous to the Beis Hamikdash. What is Beis Lechem Yehuda? The showbread. Right, David ate the showbread, the shefa, the bread in the Beis Hamikdash. And there's another girsa which the Maharal brings from Midrash Eicha. It's called Malka Urva. You can touch it as the city of Arabia or the sweet city. What would the sweet city be? Yerushalayim Shalmala, Beis Hamikdash Shalmala. So they're both coinage of the expression. Speaking about Mashiach is from the Beis Hamikdash. He's a Beis Hamikdash soul. He's all about the Beis Hamikdash. That's why he builds the Beis Hamikdash. The Chachma Shefa comes from there. The Menachem is Lashon Menucha. And the Beis Hamikdash is called Menucha. Nevuah is called Menucha. And just kind of, again, all of that goes in there. You can hash it out in your own time. Thus, we have until now Mashiach coming at the destruction of the temple in some capacity, at least a Nevuah for the future. The temples were destroyed. The deliverance is on its way. It's all about Shefa, Kabbalah, and Chachma, and Nevuah. The Arab is the one letting us know, which is, again, when it's all over, we're going to say as Mashiach comes in, is as Mashiach went out. So if the Arab brought us in, the Arab will bring us out. Got that? That's why it comes by Yishmael. Got that? An Arab told us about Mashiach. An Arab will bring us Mashiach. So as it was, so as it will be. How is that so? Because we have Galus Yishmael. At the end of days, when the 12 princes of Yishmael fall, and the mosque is removed, in case you weren't paying attention, last I checked, there was a mosque up there, and there's no temple there. When that changes, you can realize that by Yishmael going out was the allowance for Mashiach to come in, just like the Baal Torah explained. Got that? The farmer went and sold his ox. Now the farmer is your Navi. The Navi is depicted, as the Rambam says in Mor Nevuchim, a Navi is a Baal Shefa. Right? He's working the land. He's all about the land. So he sold his ox. No more Mashiach, Ben Yosef trying to live. Now we're in Gullus, and it's Mashiach Ben Yosef that dies, right? The ox, Yosef. So he sold his ox and his plow. He got rid of his prophetic lifestyle. No more Beis Hamikdash, and became a seller of children's clothing. This is a mashal of Eliyahu Hanavi. As we know, Eliyahu Hanavi often appears as an Arab, correct? Through the Talmud Bavli. Why children's clothing? Because Eliyahu has and wears what's called the Chalukah D'Rabbanan. The Gilui Eliyahu comes in the guise of a rabbi. That's who Eliyahu is in terms of the revelation. Right? Gilui Eliyahu is Chalukah D'Rabbanan. And the Rabbanan cling to Mochin the Katniss, not Chochmah. It's exile. The reason why it's Gilui Eliyahu is because for the Nevuah to remain in the world, it has to be Mislavish, the Chochmah in Chosadim. So that the Navi, who's really a Chacham, not a straight up Navi where God speaks openly, but through Chochmah, the Navi is sensitive to hear in the Lashon of the rabbi of Katniss what Hashem is giving through Torah in Godless. Just like we say that children will be Nevi'im in the future, right? Rabbis are going in their Chalukah D'Rabbanan, the garments of rabbinics, as opposed to the loincloth of Eliyahu, right? And so if you pay attention to the rabbis, even though they're in Chosadim, they're still spreading Torah. If you listen, you can get Gilui Eliyahu. Such was the Torah of the Arizal and all of these ideas. Thus, the idea of the black and white that the rabbis have clung to, if not in this in other generations, as in this generation, black and white, whatever they wear, rabbis wear a type of garment. And we know today it's black and white. Whatever it was, that's called Chalukah D'Rabbanan, and it exemplifies Mochin the Katniss. They're not meant to be Nevi'im. The tafkid of a rabbi is not meant to be a Navi today. What's meant to be is that they're spreading the Torah, and if you listen, you can get Gilui Shechina from the words of the rabbis, spreading the Torah. The Gilui Shechina comes from Yichus. Those with Yichus can get Gilui Shechina, says Gemara Kiddushin. Those without Yichus do not get the Gilui Shechina. He would go into one city and out the next. Obviously, Gullus. All right, what was a Jew after the temple? He was in Gullus in Europe, in the land of Sfard, the Sfardim, obviously, right? And they were going from exile to exile, city to city, and there was the rabbis that were the leaders of the Kehillah, spreading the Torah. It was a different lifestyle. Until he went into that city, Biris Malka, i.e., what does that mean? There's a prophetic return to the land. Right? We know that the Erev Rav, and there's 3 exiles, the Am Haaretz, the Rishoyim, and the Erev Rav, says, told us Yaakov Yosef. It's prophecy, we're going to come back to the land. You don't have to be a brainchild to realize that. That's in all the Nevi'im. And in fact, the Christians are the ones that put us here. Right? George Bush, in his commentary to Cheskel, said in 1844, bring the Jews to their land. The Goyim got involved into the prophecies and led us to our land here. As the Vilna Gaon says, you'll build the temple from the permission of the Goyim. And we saw it just like it was in the second temple with Ezra, the same thing, just like it'll be in the third temple. And so we see it, right? The religious Christian Zionists are the ones that are pushing for the Jews to be on their land. There is a true Zionism, Sionit Garit, underneath the surface, but on top of that, it's a backside Zionism, and that's going to lead us back to our soil, to which the Shavuos told us, don't make mass aliyah because they're going to walk in that trap. They did it anyways, and such is the nature of that. All the women were buying children's clothes from him. Women is Bina, Bina's understanding, thus the real understanding of the Yidden in exile. They were buying what the rabbis were selling, right? Exiled Torah from an exiled kingdom. Instead of Malchus based Yehuda, it's Malchus based Binyamin, led by Mordechai at Tzaddik after Purim. And the structure of Binyamin was in place, just as Yosef was trapped in exile in the times of the Shvatim, and there are 10 lost tribes. Binyamin has 10 sons named after Yosef. So whenever there's not a full-fledged house of Israel, there's a secondary system of the house of Binyamin. And thus people were buying what the rabbis were selling. How to stay Jewish in exile. It wasn't about Nevuah. It wasn't about Mashiach. 1,500 years ago wasn't about Mashiach. It was far from Mashiach. So the understanding of the Mochin was rabbinic in nature. So therefore the seller heard the women saying, Mother of Menachem, come buy something for your son. So the understanding of Mashiach, i.e. the brain of Mashiach, the neshama of Mashiach, the mazel of Mashiach, the rabbis were saying, Mashiach, come learn Torah from us. You understand that? It's as if proverbially, the rabbis are saying, Mashiach will learn from us. And she said to them, really, I wish to strangle the enemies of the Jewish people, which is the rabbis. Why was the second temple destroyed? Lashon Hara, Sinas Chinam. What has told us Yaakov Yosef say? The rabbis brought the destruction of the temple. And that's not to say that rabbis are fundamentally the problem. What we're saying is, who has the Torah in their possession? Rabbis. The lack of achdus with the machlokis in the second temple is what allowed for people to say, my rabbi is against your rabbi. If it's not to say the rabbis caused it, but when the rabbis are in achdus, so too the people are in achdus. As if Hashem is saying, the rabbis are the dugma, everybody else will follow suit. If they're in achdus, you're in achdus. If we're not in achdus, you're not in achdus. The tafkid is a ben Torah has to remain in achdus. Mashiach is achdus pashit. Thus, he is not aligned with the rabbis. Now, again, how's it so? Maral of Prague and the Talmud Sanhedrin. Mashiach is called a Mitzorah. He's outside the camp. The camp of Israel is Gashmi. He is Ruchni. And they also use the same thing about the Ger and the Tzaddik here. Right? That it says that Mashiach is a Mitzorah called Sapachat. The Ger is called Sapachat. So the Tzaddik has Seichel. The Tzaddik is with the Ger. They are outside the camp. Those that are in the camp don't have Seichel. That's that Chalukah Darbanin Mochin Nakatnis. Now you can be a very smart rabbi. It doesn't make you Mashiach. Mashiach is something that is not allowed to come into this world until this world is finished, says the Maral. So if you are alive in 2,000 years post Beis Hamikdash Sheni, you are not Mashiach. You may be a great rabbi. Maral, Rabbi Akiva, Rambam, Ramban, go through the list. And then here, they're saying we are giving Torah to the world of Mashiach. And they're saying Mashiach will learn our Torah. But the mother of Mashiach, i.e. Nun Shari Bina. Do you know what Nun Shari Bina is? It overrides everything. The Torah doesn't go away. But the context, the Giloi Shechina will be illuminated. So if I'm a rabbi, and I'm teaching you, if I'm not aware of Giloi Shechina, okay? Let's say you're a Mashiach, and I'm a rabbi. If I say, hey, Mashiach, come listen to my Torah, I'm really great, I know my stuff. Yeah? If I'm not aware of the Giloi Shechina, you're not going to learn from me. so to speak. But if I'm aware of Gilui Shechina, then you will be able to learn from me. All the more so if I am a rabbi and you are Mashiach, and I say hi, blah, 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 and you're Mashiach, you'll hear my Gilui Shechina. You don't need me to teach you. It's actually Hashem teaching you. You are in the base of Mikdash, I'm not. You understand that? In metaphysical sense. So if I say I'm the one who's going to teach Mashiach, no, you're not. God is. Even though God employs my words, my wisdom, my mochana katnas for you, it's not me. I can't get credit for that. Even though you repeat, Mashiach says, blah, 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 that I said, it doesn't matter. Even though you repeat my words, I didn't teach you. So Nun Shari Bina of Mashiach is saying yes and no. Yeah, he's going to learn your Torah, but it's technically not from you. It's from Hashem employing you to give it over. You see what I'm saying? So she's saying, because you, Rabbi, didn't have Ruach HaKodesh, that's why the temple was destroyed. That's the problem with the rabbi. The problem is he is not aware of Gilui Shechina. What was missing from the second temple? Gilui Shechina. And again, this is no fault other than Hashem took it away. Right? For whatever reason, Hashem took it away. Moshiach was born in waiting, let's say, in metaphysical time and space, until there's going to be a deliverance. Why does it have to be this way? Why did we go into Gullus? Again, interestingly enough, to Makabel Gerim. The Gerim come, they find the light, they make the tzaddik, right? They go to they become Gary Tzedek, he's a tzaddik, he has chachma. That's like a program. We go out, the Gerim come, we rise up, the Torah goes out. Oh, it's not Gilui Shechina yet? Let's go deeper into Gullus. More Gerim come. They bring out the tzaddik in me, they become the tzedek in them. I kona chachma, I give the Torah, and I say, Mashiach, come listen to me. She says, no, not quite yet. And I say, but I'm telling you the truth. She says, I know, but it's from you and not God. And we go deeper, right? And again, I go deeper into Gullus. We bring out more Gerim. I become a bigger tzaddik. He's more of a Ger tzedek. I get more chachma. And I again say to the Mashiach's mother, Nun Shari Bina, I say, hey, can Mashiach come and listen to my Torah? I really know my stuff. I know halacha inside and out. She says, you destroyed the temple. There's going to be a time in the end of exile where there's going to be a tzaddik, and she's going to say, yeah, you can teach my son. The Torah of Mashiach has arrived. All the Gerim have come. All the sparks are out. We've done the tikkun. You got that? Adam fell. Gelos Yishmael fell. And that tzaddik says, hey, everybody, Torah Mashiach here. She says, look, that's it. So it's not so much that, the evil rabbi, blah, 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 blah. It's that God engineered 2,000 years, and we got to bring out it's a program. And the benchmark is, hey, am I ready for you yet? Can I teach you your son? She says, not yet. Keep working on it. So the temple came down, Yerida L'Tzorach Aliyah. It had to come down to allow a greater revelation of Torah, Gilui Shechina. If the temple would have stood, Mashiach wouldn't come. Which is a nice way of saying, do you want a great gula or a dodgy gula? Do you want a real Gilui Shechina Torah, or do you want good enough? Now, mind you, the rabbi is Moshe Rabbeinu. So even Moshe's Torah, as Moshe gave it, is not good enough. Moshe didn't bring Mashiach. He said, send who you're going to send. Send Pinchas Eliyahu that comes in the end of days. Eliyahu, Gilui Eliyahu. You need the Panemius of Torah, the Rashbi, the Rizal, the Gra, right? All that time of Gilui Eliyahu strengthens the Torah of Moshe in the Birur of Torah's Moshe. It doesn't change. Then Mashiach can accept that Torah. See how deep that is? This is why we say in the Rizal's Torah that Eliyahu comes with Moshe in the end of days to explain his Torah. Moshe did the job. He gave the Torah. But the Koyach of revelation of Gilui Eliyahu strengthens Moshe, strengthens David, strengthens all that. Moshe, for all intents and purposes, was a rabbi not strong enough to bring the Geula in Mashiach. That's how radical this is. So in the end of days, there will be even a higher level Gilui than there was in the desert. That's why you have Moshiach ben David. But remember, Moshiach ben David is Moshe, Nishmat Moshe in a Keli called David. So it's the same characters. It's the same players. We want a great Gilui. The Torah's fine. You're fine. Moshe's fine. But we want the Giloi Shechina. And Hashem engineers that by bringing down the first two temples, strengthening the cloak of the rabbis, the cloak of Eliyahu, the cloak. So it's not really a loss. It's a process. So when she says, you destroyed the temple, that's like Hashem saying, you didn't sanctify me in front of the people for hitting the rock. Right? The rabbis have a job so big, they don't even realize what it is. You're a Jew, you also have a job so big, you don't realize what it is. But let's say Mashiach's mother knows what it is. Right? Mashiach's mother would say, why aren't you doing your job? You're just saying, what? I'm a Pashut Yid. What do you want from me? So we're held accountable, and the temple came down, and yet we really couldn't have fixed it. Yet in the end of days, we will fix it. So we weren't accountable for bringing it down, so to speak, and we won't be accountable for building it up. Even though we are. Like mati lo mati. We're kind of yes, kind of no. So try to understand that concept. No one's pointing fingers here and accusing. Right? The finger pointing is really from Mashiach. Mashiach's the one that points to the rabbis, or his mother, his Nun Shari Bina, and says, you guys are why I was born on this day. So it's not really fair. I mean, we're being judged by Mashiach standards. But that's the point of the Agadata here. And that's why she's saying, why are you happy that my son was born? Why are you happy that now we're in the time period of Mashiach? It only happened because the temple came down. Right? So the temple only came down to appease Mashiach world. Because the day he was born, the base of Mikdash was destroyed. So the merchant, the rabbi, former Navi, said to her, i.e. the Torah of the prophets given over by the rabbis, we can be sure that just as with his coming, the base of Mikdash was destroyed, so too with his coming, the base of Mikdash will be rebuilt. Right? As the temple was destroyed, Edom, loss of Nevuah, all these things, so too will be its rebuilding. She said to him, I have no money to buy your clothes, to buy what you're selling. So she says, you know what, Rabbi, I trust you. I think the rabbi here is like Rabbi Akiva. Like Rabbi Akiva, they say, had more chachma than Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? That famous thing about the letters and the crowns. And Rabbi Akiva was the one prophesying at the Chorban, and he saw the fox coming in and out. And he said, now we know it's going to be rebuilt. Hashem kept his word. Rabbi Akiva is no slouch. No slouch. So he's so much not a slouch. And he died, Kiddush Hashem, saying Shema Yisrael. The mother of Mashiach says, Rabbi Akiva, I trust you. Again, what is the mother of Mashiach? Right? Nun Shari Bina. The Torah of Mashiach is Nun Shari Bina, right? So it's as if the Torah of Mashiach is speaking to the Torah of the rabbi. Got that? Right? Rabbi Akiva giving the Torah of Mashiach over from what was, from the prophets, in the Torah of Mashiach, in the temple Shomayla. They're talking, right? The revelation out of the Chorban of what was the revelation of Mashiach from Moshe Rabbeinu himself to Mashiach himself, the Giloi of the Torah, they're talking. Right? Olam Haba is talking to Olam Hazeh. You got that? And Olam Haba says, Rabbi Akiva, you're a Ben Olam Haba. I trust you. I like you. You're in my world even. I recognize you. I see you. You're in my world. You're not foreign. But you did destroy the temple. But I'm overlooking that. I think the temple can be built with your ashes. I think the ashes of that temple can actually be rebuilt to the third temple. I think that by mourning the second temple, we can get to the third temple. Is that not Rabbinic Judaism 101? We mourn the second temple, do we not? Are we mourning in a couple days from now the destruction of the second or the lack of the third? The second. We should be. Some people think we should be mourning the lack of the third. But the halakha really is the ashes of the third, or the ashes of the second. And the Vilna Gaon says that the third will come as the second went. In its creation and in its destruction. that in Midrash Shlomo it says we have to get into the ashes of Tisha B'Av in order to get that dirt kicked up to rebuild it, right? The same building that went into the dust, we need to resurrect that dust into a new third building. Right? The Temple Mount will blow up Sukkot David Nofeles into Yecheskel's temple. At least that's the Havamina. She's saying, Rabbi Akiva, if that's what you're saying, I'm with you. I don't agree. I don't totally agree. I want it to be some kind of miraculous temple from Shemayim, but the people are not buying the temple from Shemayim bit. Right? They'll say that it's the Rav and Shita, which is not correct. For those of you that think the Rav says that, it is not correct. There's a certain rabbi explaining that Rav and Shita says that the third temple comes from Shemayim as a false statement, and there's an agenda behind that statement. The Rav says that the Kedusha of the Temple Mount is not activated, but he never also says that it's gone. Let's get that clear. So thereby she's saying, with that said, whatever the situation is with the Temple Mount, I'm going to give in and say, I have Emunas Chachamim, and you're right. I prefer it to come from Shemayim, but that's kind of fantasia. Nobody thinks it's going to come built except for the Christians. And we're not going there. And the Ramchal opinion that it comes built from Shemayim, but really we build it, and it's like the inspiration Shefa comes. I wish that was true, she says. I want it to technically be from Shemayim. But if it's not, I'm willing to build it. I'm willing to go up there, if the mosque is removed, whatever it is, and build it. Okay? Meaning both opinions about the temple. It can come from Shemayim, Olavai. But if not, we build it. In anything in the middle, shades of gray. Right? The Shefa comes down and we build it. She's agreeing. I.e. the Torah of Moshiach, Moshiach himself, so to speak, is saying, look, I am not in your world of Olam Hazeh, and whatever it's got to be to get me in your world, I'm willing to cooperate. And the reason why she doesn't buy the clothes, Mashiach cannot be a rabbi. What does that mean? It means, as the Moral says, the rabbis, the Olam Hazeh, Moshe Rabbeinu, is Gashmi, and the Mashiach, Olam Haba, is Ruchani. Now that is a stark contrast. The word, he says, the Chevlei Mashiach is when the world goes from Chomer to Ruchani. This is what it means, Mashiach coming on a donkey. He's riding the Gashmi. He is on top of the Gashmi. Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah was Mislavish in Bria. Now it includes Atzilus. Let's even say that the Mashiach is the Atzilus revelation in the Torah of Moshe Bria. What she is saying, i.e. Olam Haba is saying, what Mashiach is saying, is I cannot be of the Eitz Hadas Tovara, Isser v'Heter, Kosher v'Treiv, Pasul he can't be of that. Mashiach can't be here to say Isser and Heter. It has to be only the middle kav, the Etz HaChaim, a higher revelation of Atzilus. As great as Moshe was, as great as Eliyahu was, as great as Rabbi Akiva was, all of our friends, Mashiach is something higher. But we are told that out of that tradition, it will get there. The rabbi tradition from Moshe, from Adam, from Abraham, will get to Olam Haba. See the contradiction? One says we can't get there. The other one says we're going to get there. So Mashiach says, what do? I don't want to be in your world. I'm something like, Olam Haba Gan Eden. No eye ever saw it. And then he says, but I kind of have to get in your world, and I can't come to Chlal. If we don't build the temple, then it's the bee that can't get across the room. But I can't join you because I'm not you. Right? If Mashiach's a Navi and a rabbi is not a Navi, then how's Mashiach? You don't go backwards. Right? If Mashiach is a Harvard PhD grad, he can't go to kindergarten. Even theoretically. Right? If kindergarten is where we're at today, Mashiach can't enter kindergarten. Life is not a Billy Madison movie. So it's a logistic question. How does Mashiach come? There's no chibur. I can't wear your garment. I'm not you. I'm not Rabbeinu. I'm not you. I'm something else. I'm something different. See? I don't wear Chalukah the Rabbanan. It's a different mindset. What it really is, and the Zohar explains, is it's the Giloi Shechina revelation. Right? It's Shalva and the hard bias. It's the base of Mikdash Shlishi, which is not the base of Mikdash Rishon or Sheni. Bias Shlishi is something else Lagamre. Remember, we're not talking about Rabbi David Katz as the rabbi here. We're talking Moshe Rabbeinu, Eliyahu, and Avi. Even they are not enough to bring Mashiach. Right? Generally it would be enough. But we're talking Mashiach, a new world, Olam Haba, no more reward and punishment. It has to be that strong. So she says, I don't have enough money to buy your clothes. Meaning, I don't have enough Gashmi in me. I don't have enough Yitzhar Hara in me. I can't relate to your Torah about stealing and killing. I don't know what that means. I'm half angelic even. I prove him. Right, the famous thing, the angels say, I don't get your Torah. I don't know what it means to steal. And Moshe says, the Torah is ours. Do you guys steal? No, you don't steal. Mashiach saying the same thing. I don't know. I can't relate to your garment. I can't relate to Isser V'Heter. I can't relate. I mean, I know what it means, right? But that's not what I teach. I don't teach is the Batul B'Shishim. That's not what I teach. I don't teach the beginner Gemara Shir. And Gan Eden, I teach the advanced Shir. I don't teach the beginner Gemara Shir. You guys are saying, hey, Mashiach, come and teach the beginner Gemara Shir. I'm like, I can't. I don't teach beginner Gemara Shir. They say, but come on, like, he says, look, I would love to teach you beginners Gemara Shir. And I'm even going to agree. I want to. Give me a garment. I want to. Sign me up. I don't have enough money to pay for it. You know the idea. It's like, imagine if Einstein were to teach kindergarten science. Could that happen? Can't happen. Even if he wants to. He says, look, I believe in your cause. Young kids should be learning. It can't. Right? Even if Isaac Newton was the principal of the kindergarten. Could he do it? No. Stephen Hawking is the principal. Could he do it? No. I mean, you get the idea from the mashal. Right? Babe Ruth wants to come play Little League. Can he do it? No. Even if he wants to. Okay. Now. So the rabbi says, come buy clothes from now. And if you don't have the ability to pay me today, I will come back in a few days to take my money then. It's a pretty good deal. Right? Be a rabbi today. And what are the 2 days? 2,000 years. 1 day is 1,000 years in the eyes of God. 2,000 years of Mashiach. There it is. He's saying basically, okay, I know Mashiach's not going to be a rabbi like what we call rabbis. But we know that we're destined to come out of Golus. We know there's going to be a buildup of Kabbalah and Panemius. We're going to arrive to your world of Mashiach. I might be a Shamil today, says Rabbi Akiva, at the destruction of the temple. But I promise you, by the time we get to the Mashiach, there's going to be that revelation of Mashiach in the end of days that even a child can see it. So it's good. You'll come out of Golus. Come to the dark side, Luke. Right? Come join us. Help us strengthen our Torah, i.e. Mashiach. Give us a boost. Strengthen our Torah so that you can come in the end of days. If there's a little drop of Mashiach in our Torah, then you'll recognize the Torah in the end of days. Again, this is a metaphysical discussion. It's as if the rabbis are asking Hashem, can you, if you can't give us Mashiach, can you give us the nefesh of Mashiach, a little drop? Right? A portion of his soul? Aren't tzaddikim part of Mashiach? Isn't that how it works with the tzaddik and the ger? That whole thing? No? So do that, and by the end of days, it'll be Mashiach world. So a couple days later, he went back and he found the mother. 2,000 years later. Right? We think we've done it. Mashiach's with us. We're confident. I can stand by my Torah and say, look, I'm a small guy. But I know that the Gilui Shechina is here, and I can teach you about Mashiach. I'm not Mashiach, but I can teach it to you. That's what he's saying, right? I know all about him. That's what he thinks. He's saying, I know I can teach you about Mashiach. Because we made this deal that God would give us the revelation of Mashiach, right? And he said, hey, mother of Menachem, what's the kid doing now? Like, hey, we're here. Where's Mashiach? We have all this Mashiach Torah going on. Bring him. We're going to reveal him. We're going to reveal Mashiach now. We think we can do it. We're in Israel. We don't have the Temple Mount, but we think we can recognize Mashiach and say, we're ready for you. We're ready. Rav Kanievsky just announced on the internet a couple days ago that after this year, Mashiach's coming, correct? So you see, at the end of 2,000 years, the rabbis think that they can find Mashiach, reveal him, predict him, describe him. We're on target, right? There's no Mashiach yet. Yet we think we know him. Ask you. You probably have an opinion. You think you know. I think I know. Or because Kanievsky thinks he knows. There's all kind of Mashiach forums. We think we know. We think we know. They say it's Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's Rabbi Nachman. It's Avadi Yosef. It's Meir Kahan. It's Nir Ben Artzi. All these people. We think we know. My rabbi is the Mashiach. His rabbi is the Mashiach. People think they're the Mashiach. Not a problem. The more simple one gets, they think they are the Mashiach. They know the Mashiach. They can describe Mashiach. Right? We know it. Look on the internet. All kind of things, dates, predictions. We know. So he says, okay, where is he? I'm ready for him. I promise you I can identify him. She said to him, from the moment you saw me, the winds and gales came and snatched him from my hands. I haven't seen him since. You never got Mashiach. See that? You thought all this time that you were just a rabbi with the cloak of the Rabbanan, speaking Mochen Akatnis, and you have no clue or kesher about Mashiach. Even though Mashiach said himself, I'm with you, so to speak. So to speak. Hashem allowed the rabbis to believe that they were describing Mashiach in Mashiach's world. And in the end, it's as if the Shekhinah said, I know we made this deal, but it never happened. My son was never delivered to you. Meaning you never actually got Mashiach. I know I said I was going to. And I know you believe that. So when you talked about Mashiach for 2,000 years, Maral, Rabbi Akiva, Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech, Eliyahu, you never actually had him. Right? Mashiach never actually left Gan Eden. It says there are 7 that went to Gan Eden alive. One of them is Mashiach. I know this is radical, right? And I'm not saying the Torah is false. I'm saying that you, Rabbi, cannot say Mashiach. Mashiach will hear you, and he will hear Hashem. It's only Hashem, Achdus Hashem. Right? Hillel the Amora says, Ein Mashiach liYisrael. There's no Messiah for Israel. Is that true now? We see it now, we see the real meaning of that. You thought you had Messiah, and then they thought that Messiah was, what it meant when it said there's no Messiah, there was Hashem. No. What it means, Ein Mashiach liYisrael. And by the way, who they say was Mashiach in the Gemara? Chizkiyahu. What's the name of the father of Mashiach? Chizkiyahu. That's what that means. Meaning Mashiach is on the level of Chokhmah. Not lower. The written Torah of Moshe is on the level of Zer Anpin. Mashiach is Chokhmah. By definition, he's not seen in Torah's Moshe. You have to get the Chokhmah in Torah's Moshe to get the Mashiach. Which means Mashiach can read the script of the Torah deeper than you. You understand that? You see the letters and words and you read it and you're just thinking what it says. But there's a deeper Chokhmah there and Mashiach can read that and bring it out. So this is what it means. Ein Mashiach liYisrael. Yisrael is also the Darga Zer Anpin. There's no Mashiach in Zer Anpin. Sorry, Yeshu people, doesn't exist. Zer Anpin is not Mashiach. Chokhmah also is not Mashiach. That's not what Mashiach is. It's a shoresh, not the thing itself. So he who has wisdom is not Mashiach. Why? Otherwise, you say every rabbi can now claim to be Mashiach. If you have wisdom, he's a Mashiach. No. No. A rabbi can have wisdom that does not make him Mashiach. It's the shoresh of wisdom. The root is wisdom. You can have wisdom, but your root is not wisdom. Okay, if I'm a wrestler, I'm an athlete. But not all athletes are wrestlers. You understand that? So therefore, what we're saying is that the shoresh of Mashiach is something higher than what the collection of Torah revealed rabbis have to offer. It's a level of Giloi Shechina we've not seen yet. Thus, when the proverbial revelation of Mashiach comes, he will read Torah Moshe, and all those rabbis that believe they can reveal it or whatever it is, and the Mashiach will see the Giloi Shechina that Hashem gave to them unbeknownst to themselves. And that's why the Gerim came. Hashem loves the Gerim. The Gerim recognize the light. Then the Chacham realizes his own light. He becomes a tzaddik. They become Ger Tzedek, and the Torah of Mashiach is delivered to the end of days through Sarya ben Dan, the coming of Mashiach ben Ephraim, which brings us the land of Israel. Mashiach ben Yosef lives. The wisdom of the Torah, the Kohen Tzedek, Torah Hashem, is revealed for Mashiach ben David to read the Torah of the sages and understand what God is saying. How do you like that? And it says now, in closing, what do we have to learn from this Arab? That and Lebanon shall fall to a mighty king. And after that it says, a staff will emerge from the stump of Yishai. That is profound. Just like the temple fell with the king of Edom, how will the temple be built? Through the fall of a king. Zohar says that Mashiach comes from the falling of two kings. It's retroactive. One is the king of Edom today, and then recognizing the king of Edom that fell back then. Mafreya. Really, Edom never fell. Never fell. But when Edom falls today, Edom will fall back then as well. So the Edom that killed the Beis Hamikdash will fall, Titus. And if, let's just say Obama is Edom today. Let's just say it, right? Then the American Obama regime would fall. That's how Mashiach would come. As Mashiach came from the destruction of the temple, so it will come in the building of the temple, right? As the temple came down, it will go up. If a rabbi ushered in Mashiach's birth at Tisha B'Av, how does Mashiach come? Through the fall of that rabbi. Now you're saying, are you wishing for the rabbis to fall? No. The rabbis then will be given back, as you say, prophecy will return in the end of days. If prophecy left, then how does Mashiach come? Through prophecy. So no one actually finger points to the rabbis. That's what people don't get. The rabbi is like an intermediate condition occupying 2,000 years of Gullus. And so that period of Gullus is not indigenous to Mashiach. Mashiach came the day Gullus started, and Mashiach will be finished by the day Gullus ends. I mean, the clock started the day it started, and the revelation is the day it finishes. There was no actual revelation at the beginning. It's when everything fell. The revelation of Mashiach is when it fell. So some kind of false resurrection is obviously ridiculous. Right? The Mashiach did not start 2,000 years ago. That's why the 2,000 years of Mashiach is a time period that ends at the end of the 2,000 years. You have so many mashalim you can look at here. Right? If the Arab brought it in with the destruction of the temple, how does Mashiach come? Go ahead. By the fall of the Ishmaelite kingdom. The fifth exile goes to Ishmael. You caught that? As the Arab brought the news in, the Arab will bring the news out. That's why the Maral says Mashiach comes by the clouds of Ishmael. If the temple that was destroyed was the beginning of Mashiach, how's Mashiach revealed? By the temple's construction. If Nevuah went out, how does it come in? Through Nevuah. If the rabbi brought it in, how does it come out? Through the rabbi. Everything is that style. The Gemara of Sanhedrin. Wine enters, sod comes out. 70 in, 70 out. Everything that you can imagine that went into the birth of the Messiah, Tisha B'Av, the temple, the Arab, the loss of Nevuah, the creation of the rabbi, the rabbinic Torah, right? That koyach then is what will deliver the Mashiach in the temple in the end of days. Everything that Mashahaya Shehiyah. All that was will be. Rosh Hashanah's Moshe. Right? So what Moshe was, how does Mashiach come? What Moshe will be. David was, David will be. I will raise up another David. Az Yasher Moshe. Moses will sing. Anything that has to do with the temple in the Shoresh will be the impetus to bring Mashiach in the third temple in the future. If Yechezkel's Nevuah brought us into exile, how do we come out? With Ezekiel's temple. You want to know the Torah Mashiach? Look at everything that brought us out of light into darkness. Chachma, we went into exile when Chachma went out and Halacha came in. How do we bring out the Gula? With the coming back of Chachma. The entire Torah Mashiach is done that way. Have a great fast of Tisha B'Av. May Mashiach come this year in the schus of the falling of Golos Yishmael. Amen.